time to make some security resolutions. Hi, I'm Ken Ray, welcoming you into episode 213 of The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. I know, it's the start of the year. It's that time. We're going to lose weight. We're going to be better with money. We're going to read. There's so much stuff you think you're really going to do this year. Just like we did last year and the year before that. Sorry to pile on, but you do need to do the same for your digital life. We've got a couple of security resolutions for you. We'll see if we can't make them easy, though, on this edition of The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. The first of our 2 New Year's security resolutions: get a password manager. Now, if you don't have a password manager, I don't blame you. There's this sort of scary wall that a password manager represents. People say you should get one. They say they're easy, but it's still kind of freaky. I spent years coming up with clever ways to use different passwords for different accounts. Well, anyway, I thought they were clever. It was doing this show that made me realize what a dangerous game I was actually playing with my passwords. So, I bit the bullet and subscribed to a password manager, and yes, it was scary. What if something happened to all my passwords? Having used a password manager for a while now, though, the best thing I can do is tell you that despite the initial freakout, they are easy to use. Easier than having to remember my sometimes hard to remember clever passwords. And they are more secure. One data breach expert interviewed by SecureMac says password managers are unequivocally the single best thing you can do for your security posture as a normal, everyday person. Why? Because we've all got millions of apps and sites and services to which we sign in. Without a password manager, we might be tempted to do one of 2 things: either create simplistic passwords, which are easy to hack, or reuse passwords on multiple sites. That one is the worst, since if a hacker can get your password for one site or service, they can access the lot of them. Password managers let you create super secure, individual passwords for every account you own, and they do the hard work of remembering those passwords. You only have to keep track of one password, the master password to your password manager app, and even that one you don't always have to type in. The password manager I use uses Face ID on my iPhone or Touch ID on my Mac. Now, as far as picking a password manager, there are a few out there. If you're willing to spend a little money, SecureMac recommends 1Password. That's the one that I use, based on their recommendation. I have a friend who swears by LastPass. That one's free. Dashlane is another free one. If it makes you feel better, the SecureMac site can actually walk you through setting up Dashlane. We'll have a link to those instructions in the notes for this show. Now, once you've gotten over the daunting part of choosing and setting up a password manager, there's the part where you have to put all your accounts into it. Again, don't get freaked out. While that is something you will want to do, you don't have to do it all at once. Just try to use it a little bit more every day. Adding a new account here, changing a password there. Pretty soon, using a password manager will be second nature. In fact, you may sort of be using one already. If you're completely in the Apple ecosystem, using Macs, iPhones, and iPads, you can probably just rely on Keychain, built into macOS, iOS, and iPadOS. If you're mixed platform, though, toting an iPhone but using a Windows machine, married to a Mac but calling things on an Android phone, yeah, a good password manager will work to keep your info secure across your platform-agnostic life. Security resolution number 2 is tied to 2FA. We'll hit that in a moment, but first a word about MacScan 3 from SecureMac. A lot of us are relying on our computers more today than we were 1 year ago. Even in the before times, though, protecting your computer with good anti-malware tools was essential. You are doing that, aren't you? If not, may I suggest MacScan 3. MacScan 3 is a great defense against malicious software attacks aimed at your Mac. It's developed by SecureMac, trusted names in computer security and developers of exceptional security software for the Mac for over 20 years. MacScan 3 detects and removes Mac malware, catches keyloggers, removes tracking cookies, and provides full-range or targeted scanning, all without crowding up your hard drive or slowing down your machine. Sign up for a free 30-day trial today at securemac.com/MacScan. Then once you decide to buy for less. You can take a little off your subscription to MacScan 3 with offer code CHECKLIST. Try it first. Watch it kick those tracking cookies to the curb. Then when you're ready to buy for less with offer code CHECKLIST at securemac.com/MacScan. Our second security resolution is one I know we've talked about a lot. Turning on 2FA, or two-factor authentication, for as many accounts as you can. We were talking earlier about the importance of strong, unique passwords. Those are important. A good, strong password will make it harder for people who shouldn't access your data to access your data. But a good, strong password is only one thing. As hard as it might be to get past, if somebody does get past your password, they got your stuff. Unless there is a second factor standing in their way. Two-factor authentication adds another layer of protection to your accounts and services above and beyond passwords by requiring a second form of authentication, or an authentication factor, at login. This means that even if somebody manages to get hold of your username and password, they still won't be able to access your stuff, because they'll be missing that second thing that they need to log in. In the past, we divided those second factors into 3 categories. Something you have, something you know, and something you are. Something you have would be like a piece of hardware, an RSA secure ID device, or maybe an authenticator app. The phone running the authenticator app becomes the something that you have. You just need to access the app to get the info to type in. Google has a good, widely accepted and used authenticator app. Now again, if you're like I was, the idea of turning any part of your security over to Google sounds like lunacy. But this is just a tool that Google makes available. To you, it just looks like a series of 6 numbers that changes every minute or so. So Google Authenticator isn't accessing any information. But if you set Google Authenticator as your second factor on an account, that account's going to look at those 6 numbers as a key that you need to get in, a key that it knows is constantly changing. When the numbers flip in Google Authenticator, those 6 numbers no longer work, and any service expecting 6 numbers will know to look for the next series. Another something you have factor would be an account that sends a one-time code to your phone for logins or account changes. It's not the best choice because there are ways that those can be intercepted. It's not common, but it can happen. The one-time text message is a better second factor than not having any second factor. But if you can use an authenticator app or, some sort of hardware solution, that is a better way to go. Just don't lose the thing you have because, you need to have it. We'll move on now to something you know. Not a favorite, though again, 2 factors are better than 1. Something you know basically requires you to answer a question to prove that you're you. So you type in your username and your password, that is 1 factor. Then the account or service you're trying to access asks you a question. The problem with things you know, though, other people might know them too. Maybe you told an ex about the street you grew up on. Lots of people may know where you were born. The guys at SecureMac actually have this really cool trick for something you know. Make the answer make no sense. I mean, make it something that you'll remember, but if the question is, what street did you grow up on? The answer you supply at setup could be, or maybe should be, an answer that you'll remember, but that's not actually the street you grew up on. That one's tricky, though, because if you forget your clever answer, kind of like forgetting those clever passwords we talked about. Yeah, if you forget your clever answer, you've locked yourself out of your account. Unless you have a recovery key, which we'll get to in a moment. First, though, let's do something you are. Also called inherence factors, something you are would be things like Face ID for iPhone and iPad Pro, Touch ID for older iPhones, for iPads, and relatively recent Macs. Inherence is all about biometrics. It provides an excellent level of security, though it does raise some privacy concerns. This is why you'll hear Apple talk about the secure enclave, the biometric parts of your hardware that live in the device. You're not sending your fingerprint to Apple's servers to be authenticated. Rather, your phone is the gate. Your fingerprint, or Face ID, is the key to open the lock on that gate, so everything happens right there on the hardware. Now, to be clear, Touch ID or Face ID on an iPhone or Mac is still single factor. I mean, it's a strong single factor, but it's still just one thing. Now, I mentioned a recovery key a moment ago. If a site or service can be set up with two-factor authentication, it should also have the option to generate those one-time backup codes, also called single-use codes or recovery codes, in case you get locked out. You can usually find these in the same general settings area where you turned on 2FA. If you can't find where to generate those codes, just go to your favorite search engine and search the name of the service, plus the words generate recovery codes or something like that. Now here's what's weird. You're going to want to store those codes as hard copies, not on a computer, not on a mobile device, and keep them somewhere safe. A home safe or a bank safety deposit box is an ideal place, and if a service doesn't allow you to print out such codes, you should probably rethink using 2FA with that particular account. Now, just like the keychain function that we talked about earlier, you'll be happy to know that Apple has made employing 2FA for one-time codes easier. If you're all in on the Apple ecosystem, you can set up text messages to be forwarded from your iPhone to your Mac. You do that by going in your iPhone to Settings, then Messages, then Text Message Forwarding, and select your Mac. Once you've done that, when you use your Mac's Safari browser to log into a web page for which you've enabled 2FA, Safari will provide the security code in the browser when you're prompted to enter it. All you do is click on the security code when you see that appear. Now, there's an iOS version of this feature as well. When you're using an iPhone with more recent versions of iOS, and you're using the mobile app for an account which has 2FA enabled, tapping on the SMS message alert when it comes in will autofill the code for you, making it even easier to use two-factor on mobile. Now again, all of that might sound overwhelming. Just like we talked about with adding passwords to your password manager, you don't have to enable 2FA on everything immediately. But you should think about turning it on gradually where you can. And if you've got an account that does not offer 2FA as an option, get in touch with them and find out why not. And then see when they're turning on 2FA. There is one other security resolution we would love for you to make. Please tell people about the security stuff you know about. I'm not saying you have to tell them about this show, although this show would be an easy way to let them learn more. But if you've got a bit of knowledge around digital security, share it with your friends and family. They may roll their eyes, but they'll probably also be grateful. If you're looking for more security news and how-tos, the place to look is securemac.com/checklist. There you will find notes for this show and for every show we've done to this point, and you can also listen to every show right there as well. It all starts in one place, SecureMac.com/checklist. If you enjoy the checklist, please do us a favor and let people know about the show. Also, if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that'd be fantastic. If you have a question you would like to ask or a topic you would like to hear us hit, our email address is checklist@securemac.com. That address again is checklist@securemac.com. And if you can't remember that, please do remember this. You're listening to The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. And we'll talk to you next week.